everyone, welcome to This Day. It is Saturday and it is November 5th. And you will have to do something tonight before you go to bed, and I'll remind you about that in just a bit. All right, on our show today, we have two doctors, Dr. Desai and Dr. Tiongson, who are here on behalf of Providence Mission Hospital. And they have some great information about AFib, and they tell us all about the differences of what kind of symptoms you could have and how to treat it. And then we have Jared Mathis, who is part of the Moulton family that goes way back to the 1900s. And they were the first ones that sold the village their land. And they have a museum now that is not too far from here. He's going to tell you all about it. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our weather. Well, we are chilly. Lovely out, but we are going to have some rain come Monday. So today we're looking at a high of 70 degrees, 53 overnight, 71, 57, and then on Monday, 65, 54. If you're traveling, take a look at some of these numbers. So our local beaches are 68, 53, San Diego 68, 54, Santa Barbara 67, 48, Tahoe 42, 22, Big Bear 57, 28, Mammoth 48-22, Las Vegas 70-48, and Palm Springs 79-55. Cooler days, and we're going to roll back those clocks 1 hour either Sunday morning or tonight before you go to bed. And with that, we will tell you what the sunrise was 7:14, and our sunset will be at 5:55. And as I mentioned, you will roll your clocks back 1 hour. All right, when we come back, we will have the two doctors from Providence Mission Hospital. So stay tuned.
Diane's Hallmark in Laguna Niguel is now an Elam's Hallmark, and we are excited to be part of your community. We have just remodeled, and you will be surprised by the wide variety of fashion and accessories, home decor, collectibles, Disney, Peanuts, Harry Potter, and Star Wars, along with the largest Hallmark card selection in town. Stop in today and sign up for our Crown Rewards program and get a free Just Because card. Once a member, you can get a free card once a month. Elam's Hallmark, your neighborhood gift store.
Life, a series of moments. A touch, a look, a laugh. Successful people. It might not be superior imagination. It just might be superior retirement planning. Imagine what's next. Plan today, own tomorrow.
Welcome back. Well, today I am joined by Dr. Desai and Dr. Tiongson, who are here on behalf of Providence Mission Hospital. And today we are going to be talking about atrial fibrillation. Well, welcome both of you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Lisa.
And, you know, we've talked to a variety of doctors regarding AFib, if you will. And, you know, there's just I think there's a lot of concern, and there's also a lot of confusion out there about exactly what it is. So let's talk a little bit about what AFib is and why we need to be concerned about it. And whoever would like to start.
Would you like to take that one?
Sure. You know, atrial fibrillation is a very common rhythm issue that happens more so as we age. It's a very irregular, chaotic rhythm that can go as fast as 600 beats per minute, and it activates the top chambers of the heart, the two atria, in a very irregular, chaotic fashion. And the problem with atrial fibrillation is it can make people feel poorly, or sometimes people even feel a faster heartbeat, irregular heartbeat. But more often, a lot of people will just feel lack of energy. And some people can attribute that to aging when it's really a rhythm issue that's arisen. Our biggest concern about AFib is that it actually can promote a stroke. As the atria fibrillates, the chamber simply wiggles to the point where the blood can hang around, and blood that hangs around can form a clot. And that could be the source of the stroke.
And that's where I think some of the confusion comes in, right? Because you're going to have certain symptoms that are contributing to this However, they might think it's something else.
Correct. Yes. Or
Yeah.
if there are some patients that really just don't have symptoms, right?
Oh.
That's even more scary.
Exactly. And what exactly causes this particular incident?
Well, with AFib, age is probably one of the number one causes. So 1 in 4 people over the age of 40 at some point will get AFib, which is a pretty staggering number. We like to use different analogies for AFib, just in medicine in general. It's helpful to do that when you're talking with patients. And so AFib is like electrical arthritis of the heart. So as Dr. Tiongson said, like if you have a bad knee, you sort of accommodate to it. And so you don't walk as far. You don't really think about the knee, you just don't walk as far. And so with AFib, it's an aging heart. And so you get scar tissue in the electrical system. And then that creates these little short circuits that can promote AFib. So that's probably one of the number one risk factors: obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, sleep apnea, thyroid disease. All of these different things contribute to the development of AFib. And AFib is almost like a body that's out of balance, that the heart is an engine that should be running smoothly. And when things are out of balance in the body, whether it's weight or whether it's diabetes or what have you, then the heart gets thrown off. So age is one of the number one risk factors for AFib.
So then when you do have a patient that has AFib, then what is there medication treatments, or what are some things that you can do to help them?
Jay.
Yeah, there's thankfully, with science and progress, lots of, options now, or tools in the toolbox, so to speak. Traditionally, first of all, we protect people from the most serious outcome of stroke with a blood thinner. So that's part of the discussion is thin the blood so that a clot can't form, and then, obviously work on the rhythm itself, either to mitigate symptoms. The AFib oftentimes will make the heart rate go a lot faster, and patients have symptoms from that. So there are medications to slow down the heart rate.
Okay.
But beyond that, we actually have medications to help suppress the rhythm altogether. We call these antiarrhythmic drugs to try to, just prevent or suppress rather the AFib itself. If those would fail, then, procedures then become more of an attractive option, whereby we actually, garner even higher success rates at controlling AFib by doing, things like ablation.
Right. Okay. So now let me ask you, are you both, you're obviously both in the same area. However, what are the differences of your practices? So Dr. Tiongson, what do you specialize in?
Well, thankfully we all three of us here at our group specialize in the full spectrum of heart rhythm care.
Okay.
Whether it's from top or bottom chambers, whether it's ablation or device-based therapy, whether it's implanting devices like the Watchman, right? We all do all of it. So, ultimately it's all full service. We don't really have a particular niche, any one of us, that way.
Okay. And same with you, Dr. Desai?
Yeah, I think like Jay said, the nice thing is we're one of the few groups where you have 3 electrophysiologists that do the whole spectrum of care with regards to heart rhythm, and we're cardiologists as well.
Right.
And so we have our partner, Dr. Lin Hung, and then Dr. Tiongson and myself, and we're all academically trained. And so we kind of come to patient care from the standpoint of the latest science and technology, and also incorporating the humanistic aspect. What's nice about it is that we're able to offer this sort of 24/7 care and patients access to our practice. In many practices, you may have a variety of different cardiologists and an electrophysiologist in the group, which is also a great model. In our particular practice, we have our cardiologists, our interventional cardiologists, our heart failure specialists, and then we have so-called electricians of the heart, which are the 3 of us. So we're the 3 electricians, and I would say that we practice very similarly, offering that whole spectrum of care from rhythm disorders like atrial fibrillation to defibrillators and pacemakers to a variety of other.
So at what point would a patient see you? So they've gone to their primary, and then does the primary usually find something, or is it a routine visit to see you as well?
So it's kind of a variety. Patients are being referred to us from all different types of locations: urgent cares, primary care, ER physicians, as well as sort of friends of the family. So palpitations probably is our most common sort of baseline symptom. that patients are being sent for. At the same time, we'll have cardiologists that are, managing AFib for years on their own, and they realize at some point they need help, right? So we take care of things from the ground level up, as well as, patients who have already been, diagnosed with formal arrhythmias.
Okay. Now, you did mention some of the commonalities that people will have when they, that they have in common that get AFib. What are some ways to prevent getting AFib?
Yeah, I think that's the key question, Lisa. I mean, well, obviously, talking about the treatments and the monitoring, but it's really about the prevention, just like everything else in medicine. And it's a wellness lifestyle. I would argue the research that's coming out about obesity and the link between obesity and AFib is significant, to the point that people who have ablation procedures, for example, or cardioversions, these different treatments, they do better and have a lower recurrence rate when the weight is managed, when the diabetes is managed. So I don't really think about this disease as independent of the body. And so one of the things that's common, and of course, in the US and across the world, obesity is a major challenge, processed foods, diabetes is a major challenge. So the common thing is all of us share some of these types of exposure. So if you look at coronary disease, if you look at, we talked about age, sleep apnea is a big under-recognized contributor to AFib. There's an estimate that 50% of people with AFib, this comes from the Heart Rhythm Society, have sleep apnea, have undiagnosed sleep apnea. That's relevant because you can treat the AFib with drugs and ablation and all sorts of modalities. If you don't treat the triggers and the risk factors, the AFib almost certainly will come back at some point. That's an important message for the people in your community. Is people often talk to each other and say, well, I was treated with a pacemaker and I was treated with an ablation, and my procedure didn't work and mine did work, and that type of thing. And one of the things that we're trying to get the word about, and we appreciate today, is that there are so many options for AFib care that you can go online and search for AFib specialists, heart rhythm specialists. The Heart Rhythm Society is a good website. There's a couple of others, stopafib.org. But I think the most important thing is just realizing that, it's really about wellness and a body out of balance. We've seen patients who have tons of AFib, and then when they lose the weight, it all settles down. So that's really the way to look at this condition. And that's why our discussion today really applies for all of us.
Now, sleep apnea is something that, people have struggled with forever. And of course, the only solutions that they really had were these masks and the things that the breathing apparatuses, which everybody hates. But then now it seems like there's more technology out there to help people with sleep apnea. So hopefully that will help those who may have AFib, and it'll help settle it down as well, correct?
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about these, newer devices, but you're right. They're becoming, more and more, prevalent. So I guess we'll just have to see how it affects not just sleep apnea, but also our AFib, population too.
And
I think
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things about sleep apnea in our medical group, we have it's multi-specialty. So we actually have pulmonologists, sleep specialists, and a sleep lab in the medical group, which is really nice, because then if we see a patient with AFib, immediately we can do a sleep apnea evaluation at home. There's a home test, makes it really easy for people. But kind of like what we're talking about AFib, there's a lot of misperception about sleep apnea in terms of CPAP and how it's terrible and you can't tolerate it and it doesn't work. There's a lot of misperception. The reality is that in the model in our country, oftentimes people will get the sleep study, they'll meet with the technician, and they'll be immediately given a device, a machine. Right. And really what needs to happen is the patient needs to meet with the sleep specialist, with the physician, to find out there are dental appliances that can be made. There are companies that make an implantable device that stimulates your tongue to move your tongue out of the way. So there are a lot of options. I always encourage my patients to, if they're unhappy with their CPAP or they sort of gave up on it and their AFib keeps coming back, again, it comes back to you got to treat it, got to treat the sleep apnea. I'll say, let's get an opinion. Let's get an opinion from a sleep specialist. So just like you're talking to heart rhythm specialists today, sleep apnea is really a big one that, I can't underscore enough.
Well, I like the fact that you have everything there. So if you find something, you can definitely refer them to have a secondary opinion about sleep apnea. So that's great. Well, thank you both so much for the information. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome. And we'll be right back after this.
Oh, life, how we admire you, are deeply fascinated by you. All your twists and turns and wild rides you take us on. The ups and the downs. Life, you live inside all of us, breathing, growing, beating. You are the reason we'll always provide world-class healthcare. Providence, we see the life in you.
Achieve a level of comfort you've never known before. The Daydreamer will take you through smooth movements and guide you effortlessly into your favorite positions. Adjust the power pillow for ideal support for your head and neck. This and our positioning technology allows for infinite relaxation. Lay back in zero gravity while watching TV and put your body and mind at ease. Lift your spirits and find your favorite daydream. Contact your local Golden retailer today.
Welcome back. Well, today I'm joined by Jared Mathis, who is here on behalf of the brand new Moulton Museum. Well, welcome. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thank you for having me.
What a great story. I mean, when I heard about this, we're like, oh, we have got to talk to you guys because it's quite a journey that you have been on with your family. So before we get into all of that, though, just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a California native. I'm the great-grandson of Lewis and Nellie Gale Moulton, which has brought me into contact with all of these things. I live in Laguna Hills here locally in Orange County, and proud father of 3 daughters that are soccer players and piano players. And
well, you've got your hands busy, and yet you still were able to pull this together.
Yeah, I have a real job, too, as CEO of Moulton Company, but somehow we got it done because it was that important.
Well, tell me a little bit about the history. So it was a family member that had passed away, and how did it all transform?
Right. So Moulton Ranch is really the palette that we're working with. That was where we are now. That was basically Irvine to San Juan Capistrano, widest at the I-5 border, and kind of went down Laguna Canyon to the water. That was the old family ranch, and our great aunt was the last one to leave. Laguna Woods was the first part of the ranch that was sold and developed. Okay. The last piece was Aliso Viejo. That's what she had domain over. And so she was the last to leave, and she recreated a Moulton Ranch type property north of Santa Barbara in Lompoc, about 14,000 acres.
No kidding. Okay.
So she took all the stuff with her. She was the last one to leave.
Okay.
And as she neared her 99th year, she passed in 2014, we realized, boy, we had a lot of interesting things that had been sitting perfectly preserved for a very long time, and we needed to bring it back home to Orange County.
Right. So she brought it to Lompoc. But it wasn't a museum up there, was it?
No, she actually bought a house that was going to be a golf clubhouse. The golf course never happened. And so it had a big great room. And so she brought all these artifacts and things back with her. And so she had buggies and kind of her own private museum. Mm-hmm. Fortunately for us, she really didn't like company all that much. So it kind of sat perfectly preserved. And unfortunately, her husband, who developed Rancho Palos Verdes, he was more of a developer than a rancher or farmer. He rolled a tractor on himself, and so not long after they moved there, so time kind of stopped for her, but it led to this collection being held together.
That is awesome that you were able to get it and bring it down. So what was the process? So you transported all the artifacts, but you had to find a space.
Right, that's right. We had it just in storage while we tried to figure that out. We never intended to open a museum. It wasn't the original part of the plan. But as we uncovered more and more and more things, we realized it was just too overwhelming to keep it to ourselves, and we had to open it up. And so we've opened the museum. We opened on Labor Day weekend of this year, and it's on old ranch property we've had since 1895, just off Cabot and La Paz in Laguna Hills.
Oh, okay.
And while we didn't think that we would ever be opening a museum, I think especially the women in our family, knew that it was important, the time that they were living in, because they kept everything. So from Nellie Gale to her daughter Charlotte, who was my grandmother, to Louise, who was her sister, they kept everything intact in a way that would preserve it, even in a rudimentary way, and we've been able to build off of that.
That is awesome. Now, when you go into the museum, I do notice just from the video that we have that you have some containers that have different types of artifacts in it.
Yeah.
What is someone going to see when they go to the museum?
Well, the intent of the design is, one, to take you back in time a little bit, but also overwhelm your senses, right? I just gave a personal tour to a group the other day, and it took about 2 hours. Now, we're not talking about a really huge space. We've got 5,000 square feet. Half of that is really exhibition space. Another third is event space. But you could probably get through the museum if you were just taking the high notes in 20 or 30 minutes.
Okay.
But you're going to see real life artifacts from 1875 or 1874. And you're also going to see a movie that we produced that tells the story of Lewis and his journey from Boston around through the Isthmus of Panama, where he landed in Orange County in 1874 on a stagecoach. So that movie's in 4 parts, and it's about a 12-minute investment, but it's really amazing. So you'll see everything from old telegrams to the old Orange County families amongst each other. You'll see artifacts from the gold rush that Wells Fargo gave to us. You'll see old rifles and things like that. So it really does take you back.
That is just awesome. And we don't really have a lot of that here. I mean,
certainly in South Orange County, there's not as much.
Yeah. And something we were talking about just, sort of off camera is that when you see all of those artifacts and you see all the struggles that they had, I mean, we should be pretty thankful where we are right now.
Well, one of the themes of our museum is the pioneer spirit, because it can't just be about our family. We really think that there's a larger spirit that people that came out to Orange County and really built it all shared. And so I think that really shines through in the different pieces of the exhibition about what it took to actually take that leap and to take something from nothing and build it. And that's really where I think people will draw inspiration and take something that maybe they'll be able to apply to their own lives as well.
Now, speaking of that, what if somebody had something they thought of value to bring to the museum for it to be displayed there?
Right.
What happens with that?
Just reach out to us, moldenmuseum.org, or just bring it by. We hope that our biggest problem is storage. And it's already happened. We've had people bringing over different types of artifacts or pictures or stories, paintings, that sort of thing. It's already begun, and there's just been some really emotional moments of people reconnecting with their family through a number of the pictures that we have on the wall. Wow. So yeah, I could tell a lot of those stories, but it's really something to behold.
So you do tours, and would someone just reach out to you guys for something like that if they want to have a group?
Right now, what we really need is volunteers for the docents to be able to be trained and create more open hours. Right now, on Tuesdays, we're completely open and free to the public from 11 to 3. Okay. And then from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it's all appointment-based. But basically, reach out to us through the website, and whatever time is convenient, we'll be available to do that. We're moving our corporate offices right next to the museum, so we'll be there more as well. Okay. So those types of opportunities will be abundant.
Are you a 501c3?
Yes.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Okay, that's great.
Yes. And we've gotten very generous support. In fact, we just got an anonymous donor that is going to provide a challenge grant for us to encourage other people to give. So we're looking forward to more of that.
Excellent. Well, I know, we have an awful lot of people here who have probably relatives and things like that who are from the local area. We have many people who haven't moved very far, like 2 miles down the road, right? And so they can identify with this.
Well, yeah, we hope so. We hope that that's an appetite that we'll be able to make possible for everybody to come down and satisfy that urge to really reconnect with their past. You know, a lot of these cities have grown up, you know, since the 90s that surround us. And I think there is a real appetite to be able to understand what was here before. And to the extent that we can help provide and fill that gap, we'll do that. And it's been a real joy so far.
Well, that is awesome. Well, thank you for the information, and thank you for doing all that hard work to bring us something really wonderful.
My pleasure. We hope to see you there.
Thank you. If you want more information about the Moulton Museum, or you would like to volunteer as a docent, you can contact them at moultonmuseum.org or the phone number on your screen. We'll be right back.
Now at LA Carpet & More, you can transform your old bath into a new walk-in bathtub or shower in as little as 2 days. Plus, save 50% off and get 5 years 0% financing. It's easy, affordable, and fast. With 35 years in business and serving over 300,000 satisfied customers. Call 800-684-4100 for an appointment or visit one of our showrooms.
LA Carpet, #1 for you.
Welcome back. Well, our movie for today is called The Last Band on Stage. And this is the documentary of the story of how the band Chicago has lasted 55 years without stopping recording or missing a year of touring. You can check that out today at 2 p.m. with subtitles, 6 p.m. without. That is brought to you by Hogue. All right, let's take a look at our weather. Now it is on the chilly side, but that's okay. It's beautiful out, as you can tell. There's nice blue skies, 70, 53, 71, 57. Then we do have some rain coming on Monday, 65, 54. And if you're traveling, take a look at these numbers. The beaches look on the chilly side, mostly in the high 60s with the overnights in the high 40s, mid 50s. Palm Springs, 79, 55. The mountains did get some snow these last couple of days, so take a look at those numbers. And Las Vegas, 70, 48. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you again right here on Monday. Paul Ortiz will be hosting for me on Monday. And don't forget to turn your clocks back tonight before you go to bed. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Hi, my name is Rhonda Plains. I'm from Fullerton, California. I absolutely love Dr. V. I am very happy to drive from Fullerton to Laguna Woods. I was having an issue with my vision. There was strobe light going off in my eye. Dr. Vias was able to get me in to see him the next day. Once I met him and he diagnosed the problem with my eye, I felt very comfortable with him, and I'm just really happy that I found him.